interested in props, we're just gonna talk about some materials that are like commonly used by people for props. We talked about Wonderflex, right? You guys know what Wonderflex is? Do you want us to talk about Wonderflex? Yeah. Okay. So I haven't worked with Wonderflex, but I've read up a lot on it. So I'm gonna share some stuff that I've read from my research. So Wonderflex is a thermoplastic. That means it's a piece of plastic and it's in a mesh. So it's basically mesh with lots of little with plastic between the mesh. And that plastic is really when you heat it up, that plastic will partially melt, and that's why you can bend it into those shapes. For Wonderflex, they had two different types of Wonderflex. One is old and one is new. The old type, which I think is unavailable now, thank God, you had to do a lot of gessoing to cover all the mesh. And the new one is thinner and it's smooth on one side and matte on the other side, so you can use like a writing utensil to mark it on the matte side. And then you cut it out. You can use many things to form it. I know people who've used a heat gun. I know people who use an oven. I know people who just heat it over a stove. And you can use all those ways to heat form your Wonderflex. And after you heat it, you just kind of bend it into place, and it'll stay that way. You let it cool, and then you can take gesso and paint gesso on it in layers. People usually do 3 to 8 layers, and then they sand it with really fine grit sandpaper. And after that, you can paint it with pretty much anything you want, like acrylic, spray paint, anything like that you can do. Yes?
I'm guessing you don't want to leave it in a hot car in the afternoon.
No. I'm not sure what the temperature range would be, but I think you can heat form it with boiling water, I've been told. So it's not all that resistant to heat. So you don't want to leave it in a hot car. No, for sure not. And like we talked about before, Warbola is a new product that's used by a lot of cosplayers in Germany. It's similar to Wonderflex. I think the difference is that they got rid of the mesh. So now it's just one big chunk of plastic that you can like put in any shape you want. Like you can put it into a ball, and then you can mold that ball into any shape you want. So it's a lot better because you can make more 3D shapes with it, as opposed to Wonderflex where you can only have one flat sheet and then do so with a sheet. Yeah. So it's like plastic plate. It's similar to friendly plastic, if you know what that is.
Just nice, you were cutting me off.
Sorry.
Alternative to Wonderflex, which is cheaper and we mentioned before, is craft foam. You also have to heat it and you can build a lot of shapes. It's just not as flexible, but it's also like 10 times cheaper. So
How about I'm gonna seal it?
Seal it? Alright, right, so the problem with craft foam is that it's really porous. So if you were to paint directly over craft foam, you would see a lot of pores and it wouldn't look shiny or anything. So the way that I seal my craft foam pops is I would use either Mod Podge or like white glue and just do multiple layers on top of that, and then you can spray paint it or paint it however you like, and it should look really nice and shiny like armor. So I use a lot of craft foam for my props. Actually, for I probably wouldn't use craft foam too, just because I like craft foam. Yeah, so like for armor, I would use a lot of layers of white glue, and then after you can spray paint it or whatever, and also after that put another layer of white glue or Mod Podge or whatever you like on top, and that should make it look like armor and very shiny.
The only thing about that is don't use Mod Podge as the very top final layer, because that sticks to everything. So anything that you have like a rubbery shopping, make sure you work beside an open window. Pink insulation foam is also toxic, so make sure you're wearing a mask when you're sanding or cutting it with the heat wire. Yeah, we recommend one of those hazmat masks with, like, you know, the vents